New START accomplishes critical goals for our national security. It reduces Russia's deployed nuclear warhead stockpile by 30%. It reduces the number of deployed and non-deployed launchers to 800, and it limits the number of deployed missiles and bombers to 700, fewer than half of the number of the original START treaty. It also establishes a stronger system of on-site inspections, allowing us to physically count individual warheads. This is the safest way to ensure that we have an accurate understanding of Russia's nuclear weapons force. Nevertheless, the Senate has failed to take action on what should be non-controversial, a treaty with bipartisan support that will make our country safer. Today, I'd like to talk about the consequences if we fail to ratify New START. Right now, with no treaty in place, our country has virtually no ability to monitor Russia's nuclear weapons. The previous START treaty expired on December 5th, 2009, almost a year ago today. Since that time, our inspectors have been shut out of Russia's facilities. We've been making national security decisions in the dark. By contrast, the comprehensive verification system proposed under New START allows our military to make better, safer decisions about our national security. Without these verification measures in place, we will lose track of Russia's nuclear arsenal. We will spend more money to obtain less reliable information. Delaying ratification makes no sense for our national security or for this nation's wallet. Failure to ratify New START does not just undermine our short-term national security interests. It weakens our long-term relationship with Russia and countries all around the world. In a post-9/11 world, strong relationships and shared intelligence have never been more critical as we defend against emerging threats. We rely on Russia's support to help us contain one of the biggest threats to our national security and to the world's security, Iran's progress toward a nuclear weapon. In fact, earlier this year, the United States brokered an agreement with Russia and China that imposes new UN sanctions against Iran to limit its weapons production. Our failure to move forward on New START would make these efforts more difficult. The goal of preventing Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons requires a solid U.S.-Russia relationship, and that relationship begins with New START. We have had ample time to study the treaty, 20 formal hearings, countless briefings, 900 questions submitted for the record. All senators have had time to express opinions and register concerns, and the experts, both Republicans and Democrats, tell us that it's time to ratify the treaty. In fact, Lieutenant General Brent Scowcroft, National Security Advisor for Presidents Ford and George H.W. Bush, has said the principal result of non-ratification would be to throw the whole nuclear negotiating situation into a state of chaos. He is not alone in this considered view.
Senator, the time for the majority has expired.
Madam President, I ask unanimous consent to extend our time to 10:20 and to then allow for 5 minutes for the Republicans at the other side of their time.
Is there an objection? No objection.
I thank the senator from New Hampshire, and I will wrap up in the next couple minutes. He's not alone in this considered view, Madam President. Listen to the bipartisan wisdom calling on the Senate to ratify this treaty. Former Secretaries of State George Shultz, Jim Baker, Henry Kissinger, Colin Powell, Madeleine Albright, and Warren Christopher. Former Defense Secretaries Jim Schlesinger, Bill Cohen, Bill Perry, Frank Carlucci, and Harold Brown. Former National Security Advisors Brent Scowcroft, Stephen Hadley, and Sandy Berger. Patriots all, committed public servants who take it as an article of faith that partisanship ends at our water's edge, as do most Coloradans and Americans. And when it comes to START, I believe the Senate will as well. President Reagan began negotiating the first START treaty with the Soviet Union in 1982, right in the middle of the Cold War. Even today, all these years later, we remember Reagan's brilliant phrase, trust but verify. And many believe the Cold War would never end. So much has changed since the fall of the Soviet Union. The rise of global terrorism, the growing threat of Iran, the integration of our global economy, and the realization that when one economy falls, all are in danger. Madam President, as you know, I've just finished a long and tough campaign, and I can tell you that Coloradans are patriots before they're partisans, their parents before they're Republicans and Democrats, and their neighbors before they're foes. We need to respond, and the Senate should ratify New START now. I yield the floor.